Well, hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parco. I'm here with my co host, Amy T. Meyer, and we are the hosts of. Well, thanks for showing up today. I appreciate it.
I try.
Yeah, I know. You try real hard. And thanks for getting a hold of our guests real early in the process so they can show up on time. I appreciate that. All right. And today's guest, let's bring him in. He's Brad Milford. I don't know why he keeps putting the A in there. I wonder how many Brads there are. How many Brad A. Milfords are there? You have to put an A in there.
There's a couple Brad Milfords, and that's why I put the A in. So
Okay.
Distinguishers are important, right?
That's right. Especially if you're trying to use it across social media and people trying to find you.
Right on. And
all right.
I didn't really think the other ones were maybe as good people. So we'll just leave it at that.
All right. So we're all Navy people except for Amy. She's Navy, then whatever. All right. So, Brad, we always ask the first questions. A lot of times we ask is, what service did you join and why? I know you're in the Navy because I've talked to you a few times. And why did you pick that service?
Great question. There's a funny answer and the real answer that actually came to me later. So the real answer, I'll start with that. My neighbor next door to me was actually an Army guy for most of his life. In fact, he was World War I and put to new generals and has been written in books and all kinds of stuff. He was a great influence from the time I was very young. Mr. Bach, God love him, rest his soul, of course. But he was, a real patriot, and he influenced me. The real reason I went into the Navy, though, was because the recruiter took me and I was gone 2 days later. That's just the real deal. I wanted to travel. That was another influence. I wanted to travel more than any other branches. I felt like the Navy was the way to go.
Because you'd be on a ship or something like that?
I just thought I could travel the world a little more with the Navy than I would be able to with other branches.
Did you?
I did.
Travel the world more?
I did indeed.
Where'd you go?
Well, technically, there's always technically and then what really happens, right? So I think technically I was stationed in Norfolk where I never, ever once saw Norfolk. I went to Rota. I stayed in Rota, Spain, primarily for 3 years, but I don't want to say rarely there. I was in and out of there a lot, which was cool. So
were you on a ship? What were you doing?
Yes. So ship, sub, airplanes, you name it. I was on
USS what?
Bunches. I mean, way too many to list. I've been on destroyers and aircraft carriers and submarines and lots of flying. So we chased subs. I worked with ETs. I was a cryptologist. So that was my primary MOS, but I worked with a lot of fast tac Marines because we used to carry the logistics around. Now we're going back a number of years here. So we used to carry the logistics around in wartime in a briefcase with guards. TPI is what they call it, 2-person integrity minimum. And so it was kind of cool. So they would drop us in. We would brief the officers and then we'd peace out. So it was kind of a cool job.
And they don't
also
do that
very
anymore.
Scary at times.
They don't do that anymore, right? That type of job?
I don't think so, no. Technology has come a long way since then. So I would say no. I'm not sure.
I'm going to let Amy ask a question because she keeps taking her mic mute off and wants to ask a question.
So how long were you in the Navy?
Almost 6 years. I got out just a little bit early because they offered it out and I pieced.
Very cool.
You were like pieced out or what?
Yeah, 5.5. I pieced out 5 months early.
Yeah.
Well, if we forget to say it later, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
All right.
And
so
everybody listening or watching.
Yeah. Now we're later. So you were cryptology, you're out of Italy a lot, I take. So
yeah, Italy, Greece. Of course, the Gulf, all over.
What years were
this? This is going back toward the beginning of what most people know, like the original conflict. So Desert Storm, Desert
1990.
Shield. Yeah. Yep. 1991, January and February.
Yep. 2 months. months. Missed it. 5 years, 5 months, and 14 days. But who was counting?
Right on.
Yeah. All right. So when you got out, I'm assured you've used that cryptology the rest of your life. What you learned in that.
Yeah, I mean, you already kind of know the story just as
No,
a
but
brief.
other people don't. So act like I have no idea what your story is.
Here's what really happened. Look, I'm just gonna lay it real. When we're kids, when we're little kids, little kids, right? There's three things we want. Everybody. We all have it in common, right? We want to believe in ourselves. We want to belong to something that's a great tribe or community, and we want to become something significant and, create some impact in the world. Like we all want that same thing, right? And so that started for me around age 7. And I went on a journey to try to pursue that. The military happened to be one of those things. And so to answer your question, when I came out of the military, cryptology was cool. And there was some exciting, fun, and scary stuff that happened there. But when I got out, those skills were not readily available unless I wanted to be in the CIA, which I did not. I was tired of having, somebody up my yin yang all the time, looking over my shoulder always. And I didn't want to be involved in, special ops like that after I got out. I just really wanted some freedom, which is probably why I talk about freedom so much nowadays, is because I didn't feel like I had freedom while I was in the military. I just felt like I had an eye on me all the time.
There is no freedom in the military. It's a form of incarceration. Come on.
Right on. I mean, everybody's been in knows that to a certain extent, to some degree, except for other branches. Well, we won't go there. I'm just kidding.
You're talking
little jokes. But so what happened then when I got out, since I didn't want to do that, and I felt like I wasn't worthy of doing anything. Once again, here, where I thought I did something special. Now I'm out of the military and I'm like, I'm not worthy of doing, I don't have any skills. What am I going to do? And it kind of sucks to feel that way.
How'd you get over that?
Now that's a long journey. It's a great question.
We have half hour.
I'll deliver as much as I can in a very short amount of condensed time. Like that was a very scary place. And I've been there a number of times. Like I grew up kind of hard. So, and many of us that go to the military have. I mean, so I know there's some people listening and watching and like, yeah, that's me. I know what that feels like. Right. And nothing came in easy. And I don't say that to complain. I just say that to illustrate, right. To give context. And so here I was out of the military and I'm in culture shock, total culture shock when I get out. When you come out, you've learned independence. You've learned a lot of things. You may not even realize how much you've actually learned when you get out. And you compare yourself to civilians, and that's a whole nother shock. Like you've learned independence. You know how to cook for yourself. You know how to clean. You know how to fold stuff. There's a lot that you learn. It sounds silly. You know how to shoot a gun. You know how to take care of yourself. All these things that we learn that we minimize oftentimes when we're in now set us apart, light years apart from civilians. And I don't mean that to be degrading. I mean, there's a lot of veterans that don't understand how many skills they've actually learned, which are a plus. But when we compare ourselves to civilians, we start to get frustrated. We have risen our expectations, right? And now we compare ourselves and now we don't fit. And that feeling of not fitting is a problem. It can be a problem for a lot of veterans. They're not sure what to do with that. At least that's what I experienced. So now I felt like I had some skills, but I didn't feel like I was worthy of doing anything with them. So I just began a search. I started, to answer your question, I started listening to audiobooks, cassette tapes, I think CDs were not yet around then. So it was CDs and now it's podcasts like this.
It was a cassette. It was a cassette.
It was cassettes. It was cassettes at first. There wasn't 8 tracks. I can promise it wasn't that.
No one put any of that stuff on the 8 tracks because it was too hard to figure out how to fast forward to it.
Right.
Clunk, 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 clunk.
But going backwards even more, see, growing up, I won't give my origin story on this. I've already given it on one of your podcasts, but
but not everybody listens to my podcast on this. So
I do.
So he had me on his podcast, then I had him on my Inner Edison podcast, and then I thought he would be really good for this helping the brave, because it's important for people to understand that what we come from controls a lot of what we do for the rest of our life. If we have a messed up childhood, which most of us do, we actually will run towards combat or other things, and we haven't dealt with it. And so when you get back out, if you haven't dealt with it, you're going to deal with it.
It's true. And so part of my issue was I didn't have any mentorship when I was young. I didn't have a father growing up. I didn't have a stepfather. My mom and stepdad broke up. And, my mom was away a lot, raising 4 children. God love her. God love her. Having to do that by herself, 4 children. That's tough stuff. And, so I had a lot of issues that I hadn't dealt with. And the military really didn't help me through those issues. It helped me with structure, because I learned how to be independent. I learned how to do a lot of things on my own. It helped me follow, the chain of command and these things, but it didn't help me work my issues out. In some regards, it only helped make them worse, honestly. I wasn't equipped to deal with them. So back to your question, what did I do? So I started with audio books at that time. I knew there was a sense of me. I knew I needed some kind of mentorship. I got a little bit in the military, but mostly chain of command was busy. They were focused on scaling up and doing their things and whatever. I had one great mentor, Master Chief Copenhagen. We'll never forget him. So he was really good to me. He taught me some essence of what leadership is. It was some really good exposure. And I hope everybody in the military gets at least one person that teaches them something about leadership. So I had some notion of what I wanted to capture. He gave me a good feeling inside of like what a leader can be. And so I started there, and I started just learning what I could about leadership. Right. And I took that on throughout my entrepreneurial journey. So through a Marine friend, I got a position as in the recreation business, building stadiums, playgrounds, tennis courts, basketball courts, anything you've ever seen in a park. I began to design, build, and install, which was a cool business. I was in that business for 15 years. But my leadership skills were still lacking. Even having been in, I just knew there was some pieces missing, right? There's some things I needed to learn. I went from a hardcore blue collar town, from being a problem kid and class clown and, going to the military. I had some struggles in the military. I was busted down a grade one time, for causing some trouble. That it never left me, right? Got out, had that entrepreneurial spirit, good and bad side to it. And I knew I need to work some stuff out. So my point here is audiobooks were good for a while, but I still needed mentorship in and out of the military. And then everything I had done, even becoming successful in business, just climbing and clawing and, to the top, I still needed mentorship. And I didn't know how to find it, because now I had traveled most of my life. So now how do you find a stable mentor when you're in and out of different jobs and you're changing everything around and you're moving from country to country and all this stuff? Like, it's really challenging. Maybe not today with the internet the way it is, but back then it was pretty challenging. So I realized that books were only going to take me so far, and I needed some mentorship, but I just really didn't know how to get it. So I was really frustrated again. I mean, there's some real problems there. I drank a lot. There was a lot of stuff I didn't want to deal with. Mental issues. I don't even know what to call it. Like, you can call it PTSD, you can call it whatever you want, but there was just some mental stuff that there's some baggage, some skeletons, that I hadn't dealt with. And I began to chip away at them slowly. And I knew they were there. I could feel them. I don't think anybody doesn't have a sense that they're there. Right. But I think there's a lot of people that just don't know what to do about it. And back then, when I came out, there's a lot more communication. I think communication is a little bit better. I'll let the two of you speak into this, but I think, there's a lot more, hey, thank you for your service. There's a lot more recognition. I didn't experience any of that. It was actually like, you were actually it was, how do I say this? It would reflect negatively on you if you said, hey, you know what? I'm struggling in transition. Yeah. I have PTSD. Those terms weren't used when I got out, and people would actually point the finger at you. Even at the local American Legion, you didn't want to talk about that stuff. You would be viewed as weak. Right.
Yeah, right. And things have changed these days. It's a little bit better. Nothing. I mean, you need to deal with it. You need to have that come across. We've had people on talking about how you need to deal with PTSD, and to this day, and you were right when you got since 9/11, it's better for people saying thank you for your service and how can we help a veteran, how we can do it. But it's still, somebody asked a question, why do veterans only get 1 day and not a full month?
Right on.
And that was a Brit.
Yeah, right on. So
We are
All-
included in all the other months, though,
How?
because we have LGBTQ.
That's not, no,
service
we're talking about
members,
just
that's
1 month
included.
for
We have,
veterans, period.
Service members in color who are included in the Black History Month or the Women's History Month also showcases women veterans, and that, all the different months still include veterans within them.
But there isn't 1 month just saying thank you to our veterans for the whole month. There isn't that. There is a Veterans Day, and then there's Memorial Day to remember the ones who never made it home.
And Armed Forces Day.
Armistice Day, what?
And Armed Forces
Armed Forces.
Day.
What day is Armed Forces Day?
May 19th.
And what day is that? A holiday? Is that a day we get off?
It is here. I don't know. It's usually a Saturday, and it's celebrated pretty big here. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've seen that on a calendar, but I don't know that I've ever been recognized for anything.
Yeah, I don't
No,
think. I understand what you're saying, Amy, where you're included in other things, but that's not, they're not focusing on what we did. We sacrificed. We signed on the line, put our time in, said we would go fight for this country. There isn't a full month that talks about that. You can't even put veteran on the fact that you're running for government when you're running in a position. That's the
we
problem.
can put it on their licenses now, which is something.
Yeah, it's on my driver's license, so that way I can get my discounts.
Yeah, that I think that's a plus. Hey, that's a step forward. I'll take a win. That's a celebration. I'll celebrate that. The truth is, I think a lot more can be done. I really do. I think a lot more can be done. What I'd really love to see is some more personal outreach. So there was a transition program. I know we have TAP and whatever they're called now, but transition programs, but they suck. I'm sorry, it sucked. I don't know how else to say it. Like it didn't transition anything for me. It was lousy. And so maybe they've improved along the way. I can't speak to the way it is today, but
it only for officers and retirees of officers and senior enlisted.
Yeah, I would.
And I'm not knocking any of those people. I'm just saying those are the ones who actually have the good transition programs.
I think we really need to deep dive that, what we're really doing there. And so I'm connected in a couple of vet groups, and there's a lot of sadness in those groups. To be honest, I try to minimize my time in there because I'm a pretty positive guy. And now that I've come through all of this, right, to a different place, I try not to look back, but I do love helping people in that space. But I also have to minimize some of the sadness and some of the anger and resentment that's coming out of some of the vets that have served, right? Because I only want to, I can only take so much of that, right? I can only give back so much and maintain my vibrational level today. I mean, I'm just being real, right? I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to be real, right? So I have some for giving, right? And it's not a full-time job, but so there's just so much more that could be done. And I think we need to, I think we need to personally reach out to our vets. I think we need to not leave it up to them. I think when someone is in the service, there should be an organization that personally reaches out to them and make sure that they know what services are available, what kindnesses are, are at their fingertips, like ways that they can improve, or if they're stuck, they can reach out without shame or fear, or carrying doubts. Like that in and of itself, like some kind of personal outreach, whether it's phone, whether it's email, I don't care what it is. Like literally reach out to someone and say, I'm here for you. My name's John, my name's Sally, my name's George, whatever, and I'm here for you. And if you have questions, I want to be here for you. And I don't see that.
And are you talking about military doing that? Or are you talking about civilians doing that, or prior military doing that? Because the government feels once you've done your service, they're done with you, unless you have
wouldn't you agree that's a problem?
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's like it's not a fraternity.
Right. Okay. But
I mean,
so let's
how about
reframe
this?
the question here.
Hold on, you go to college, right? You get your degree. Do they reach out to you afterwards? Unless they want you to pay for a building.
Well, I was going to say, if you haven't paid your bill, they will.
I'm just saying it's the same.
Well,
Hold on,
and I
Amy's going
think,
to tell us differently. She's got every month they reach out in some certain field.
well, sure. But here, veteran service organizations, it's hard to be on military installations to even get in front of service members. And a lot of times a lot of installations, you have to pay through MWR to be able to be in front of service members. Now, a
And
lot
for
of times
people
they
who don't know
do
what MWR is,
morale,
so you don't
something
even
in
know.
readiness, welfare and readiness. But it's the organization that basically is like the governor for services and companies to be able to reach out to service members. And then I think you mentioned the American Legion. They would think that they're trying as hard as they can. Same with the VFW, same with a lot of other ones. And I agree. I think the reason that's the whole reason for the podcast is that we feel like there's information silos, and we need to get away from comparative superiority for our service and understand that everybody who served has a story that we should be sharing. Sorry, my kids are home.
That's like we can't hear them. You were saying comparative, whatever. What are you talking about? I want to make it even for all of us because I don't want Brad to feel like he has to be on the spotlight the whole time.
Well, I feel like all the veteran service organizations have different tools, things that they're good at, things that they're participating in. And rather than just say that, the Legion is better than the VFW or MVP is better than the Mission Continues, which is better than Travis Manion, we should just all share what we do, what we love about our organizations, and enjoy the veteran that gets a tool from each one of us.
My wife does.
Was that gets a tool?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I caught that right. I thought I caught that.
You have to be
right.
quick around here, all right?
Understood.
It'll be fast before you know it. Gone. No, I totally agree with what you're talking about. But I mean, like, a lot of places you have, if you're not combat vet, you can't be in this organization.
Right.
You have to be this, you have to be that. And a lot of veterans are like, why? It should be inclusive for everybody, but that's not how it is. That's their whole. I understand if you're doing PTSD for somebody and they're a combat vet, they need to talk to a combat vet. I don't care if it's Vietnam or current or whatever. They need to talk to somebody who's been in a fight so they understand what they're dealing with.
Yep.
But to have a drink with somebody, I don't know if you need to be a combat vet.
Well, or, Wounded Warrior is just 9/11 on. But the suicide rates are much higher for older veterans. So when you're talking about trying to normalize mental health, only
just talking about your age, Brad.
Nice.
It's really our age, so because we all served similar, but it's all that. But I don't know that necessarily we have to make everybody play the same game. I think what I'm trying to say is that we need to just share what we do and allow the veteran themselves the opportunity to get something they could need from each of the services or the service organizations.
I'm not saying I disagree with that entirely. I get that it can't be one size fits all. That I totally get. And when you're talking about a large organization and multiple branches of different organization within the government, I get it that you have to have some structures and boundaries. I'm a structuralist, so I'm all about that. I get that. But I think we can, and this is my point, I think we can make it easier than when somebody does need help. They know exactly where to go. They know exactly what to do. There's no question, and they know that they won't be shamed for feeling the way they do, regardless of the background or whatever they walk through. Like, that I think is the most important. Like whether the story they carry with them is true or untrue, if they have an issue, I think that we need to take care of them. And that is, I have a very firm and strong belief in that. And I don't think they make it easy. I've not used any of the services since I've got out. I don't even know what the heck the services available to me are as a vet. To be honest, I don't have the faintest clue, and I wouldn't know where to go to find that out.
Well, and I think it's different in different areas. Like
Agreed.
me and one other female, we have a hard time getting services here locally in certain areas, specifically with mental health, actually. Whereas the guys in one of our groups are talking about how awesome it is. They get seen within an hour of, saying they have a problem. And me and my one girlfriend are looking at us and I'm like, I have been waiting for 6 months. It would be, and she's really struggles. She has a hard time being excited for the guys who are getting the service, which we should be thankful that they are. But it would be nice for it to be different for us.
Right on.
So.
How do you fix that? What is that? Is that just who the doctors are for? Do they separate out by female and male?
So they do here, but the guys are actually talking about a different service, which isn't actually, I don't think the VA, I think it's like almost like a different service organization that is kind of in a city away from us. That is a service. So I haven't gone there. I went to the VA and have not enjoyed it. So
nobody enjoys going to the VA. I don't care who you are.
Well, the women's clinic I actually love. For everything else, I get really good service, and I've used the VA for my health care for years. But I have not had good luck with the mental health. But other people have, so I don't want to just be disparaging. It just hasn't worked out for me.
So I'd like to go a different direction.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks. So I want to empower anybody listening or watching to not even rely on that. To rely on yourself. So we're taught to be kind of independent. Definitely some teamwork, right? We're taught to have the person next to you and be able to rely on them and to be able to work in a team. And that is a great asset as well. But to a certain extent, we're taught to be independent and to rely on ourselves and be strong, right? And that part is something I'd like to speak into. What really helped me, going back to your question, Ed, what really helped me was going within. So it took me years, many years. It would have been a lot easier with help, but I learned how to do it on my own. So I deep dove how the mind works, literally how it functions, neuroscience, right? I started to read a lot, deep work. And I started to dive in, and then I started to get some coaches, and I started to get some help, and I started to get some mentorship, all which I paid for out of my own pocket because I wanted to improve my life. And I wanted to fix what was broken. And so I learned about my beliefs and about my principles and about my values and about my morals and about my code of conduct, not what I was taught through the UCMJ, but what mine were. Right? What do I believe? What do I stand for? What is right for me and my values, my principles? And really that stuff. And then some strengths assessments, some personality assessments, some DISC assessments, so getting real deep. And what I'm driving here is you either go within or you go without. And so I went without many years by not figuring this stuff out. But when I went within, I not only learned about myself more, but I began to learn about how other people function too. And it gave me more love for people. It gave me more understanding and awareness of other people as well. And that's really what helped me push through what were hard times before to get to where I am today. What are my leadership principles? What are my teaching principles? TPOV and LPOV, I call them. Like leadership principles, point of views, things like that, right? And that's when you get to know yourself at a deep level, you also get to know other people and how you can serve them and contribute to others. And that was a game changer for me. And so you can either do that on your own, which, I took the hard route. I don't encourage anybody to do that. But if that's what you have to do in order to get it done, do it. Get her done. You're used to that, right? If that's what it takes, start somewhere, start getting a library. I mean, if that's what it takes, do whatever it takes to to break the barriers there, to break out of your prison if that's how you're feeling, because no one needs to feel that way, especially a vet. I'll pause there for a minute. Back to the hosts.
Amy, anything you got to add to that? Nope, I guess not.
Yeah,
There you go.
no, I agree 100%. That, and that's actually what I said in our meeting, is that I go outside the VA. Like, I needed tools, I needed help, I needed insights. And so I don't know that I dove quite as deep as you did, Brad, but I definitely some similarities from what you said. And my therapist is not with the VA. So
yeah, I say this humbly. I went hard. So I had some deep rooted issues that weren't just from the military. They started before that, and I own that. Right. And some of that I caused myself. Some of it was from my upbringing, but some of it I caused myself and made it worse. And so I was on a journey to uproot that and fix it. And it did take me a long time. It took a lot of hard work, but I'm one of those guys anyway that just goes all in. So I did go hard at it.
You have to go back and deal with your issues. Everybody has issues from childhood. I mean, even my daughter, one of them has issues, and she's had an easy one for certain things, but compared to where I went, where, I didn't know, I think we talked about it before. I had 3 shirts, 2 pair of pants, and a pair of shoes, and that was it. And now I understand why I never get rid of clothes, why we didn't have a lot of food. I know why I'm fat anyway, because I like food and alcohol, because I didn't have it as a kid, not the alcohol part as a kid, but you know what I mean. So it's just figuring out why you are who you are, and dealing with those issues and getting through those so you can be a good person going forward.
Yeah, I used to think it was the why. I actually differ in my belief now, and a lot of the coaching that I do. Look, sometimes there are some issues where you need to really pinpoint the core issue of why. But what I've actually found that is more powerful is forget the why. If you can identify the issue of itself, the core issue, what it is, then I would ask, instead of asking, why is this happening? Because that just takes you backwards. I would ask a what question. What do I need to do to uproot this and change it? And so, what are I don't want to go into my 9 steps of how to flip a limiting belief, but like really just how to flip a limiting belief is what it comes down to. And so identify it and then say, what is going to change this? That's much more effective to me. Everybody's different. I mean, I'm sure the therapist might disagree with me there, but I've seen great success. I'm more solution oriented, right? I think it's faster. It's a faster route.
But I've also seen people who did that, and then they just take one addiction for another addiction for another addiction until they deal with it. Right.
That was me for many years. Yeah. So I wouldn't disagree with you.
So it just, whatever works for you is what you're saying, and what worked for you was that, and whatever it is. But what we're saying is, don't rely on the military. Once you're out of the military, don't rely on the VA or anything else. Just, it's the same thing. You're an individual. Rely on yourself.
Yes. I think everybody on this call right now is nodding their head. Yes, definitely do that. Yep. That's the most reliable path.
You can tell he's old on this call.
Well, I would also.
That's what he said. He said everybody on this call.
Whatever.
So the way I say it is, nobody's going to love you more than you love yourself. So when you expect someone else to care more for you than you care for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know yourself, you can't know somebody else. So.
Oh my God, Ed, can I get a word in?
Nope. My show.
Amy, it's interesting that you said that, because I have literally stood in front of rooms of hundreds, and I would ask, what's the number one relationship in your life? And a lot of people, the common answers are, God. A lot of people say God, or my wife or my husband or, my partner or somebody. But very rarely do people say me. And I don't care what your religion is or your spirituality or whatever. The number one relationship you need to have in life is you. If you don't have the best relationship with yourself, how on earth are you going to have great relationships with anybody else? And so I think it's interesting that you said that. It all comes down to the relationship you have with yourself. And very few people are taught that or know that even.
All
Okay.
right,
I yield the mic back to
no,
you.
we got. I was
out of
started
respect.
talking. If you would have just been quiet, but I was letting. What you don't understand is I talk all the time, and then Amy's over there going, "Oh."
No,
I waited, and she didn't say anything.
I got her 6 now. I'm watching her mic to see when it comes off of mute because I know
And
you
it takes
won't.
her a little bit to get there.
Well, so I'm having conductivity issues here. So half the time I think I'm freezing, and so I'm not 100% certain what was just said.
All right. Well, we need to
and I'm
fix
trying
that
to
problem.
sit here and smile so that if it does freeze, at least it's freezing with a smile.
Did you have anything to add to what he said there, Amy?
No, just I agree 100%. I think it's complicated, when we say the biggest relationship is with ourselves, but it's 100% true. And I say, like nobody's going to care more about your money than you. Nobody's going to care more about your health care than you. Expecting somebody else to care more about you than you is ridiculous.
Right. And some people think it's selfish to think about yourself first.
But we're not talking about manicures and pedicures or shopping our feelings away.
We're not.
It's just maybe you are, Ed.
Well, we know you are.
Yeah, I just had my nails done. What are you talking about?
I believe you. But it's
He's still dealing with those issues.
No, those issues are over. Hey, if it works for you, go get your nails done, whatever it is. I just think it's important for you to figure out who you are in life, and where you want to go. And a lot of times when we go from childhood to the service right away and then get out, we didn't change anything. We go back to exactly where we were because we didn't plan how to use the military. And I tell everybody, if you're going in, you need to plan on how to utilize the military for what you want later on, whether that's school. I used it for my bachelor's and master's. You utilize it for what it's there for. They're going to utilize you. You need to utilize them.
Yeah, good advice.
So he did everything right. I did everything wrong.
No, I didn't say that. I for a few
No,
years,
that's how I feel. You didn't say that. That's how I feel. Like hearing your story and stuff like that, I was not nearly as astute as you.
Oh goodness, please!
Yeah, but the difference,
what? He did everything right. His head is going to get bigger. I didn't. Nobody else is going to be seen on this call.
Yes, he did. He did.
No, I didn't. Man, I almost got kicked out in the beginning. I just had a good senior chief that saved my ass. We'll just move on from there. So,
God love the senior chiefs. They're so smart. They're so wise.
Yeah, they help you. That's why I help everybody I can, because I was helped so many times throughout my life in many different places, and that's what it's about. When you help people, then you get ahead by helping other people. So,
I think
all right, Brad. Before we go, that's right. That's why we're here to help vets, and come and tell your story, help other vets from your story. And I want to thank you, Brad, for being here today and telling your story.
Yeah, my pleasure. I just want to encourage anybody that's listening and watching, if this hit you in any way, like if you ever thought, I just don't have anybody to reach out to, that's where it gets real for me. So if you're listening and you're watching, if you've ever felt that way, or if you ever even second guessed, like, hey, I'm not sure who I can reach out to, and I just really just want to chat. I don't want somebody to sell me something. I don't want somebody to push something on me. I don't want any of that crap. I just want to have a brief conversation. You got 3 people right here that you can reach out to.
That's right. And they're 1-hour rating for children.
Except for Ed, don't reach out to him.
No, you said crap. You said crap. They're 1-hour rating for kids. Now it's explicit. Let's see how you are, you damn Navy guy. It's funny. It's like they always say, cuss like a sailor. And I got in trouble if I cussed at the hospital. We never could cuss. So anyway, we'll move on from that. I just, one of those things. Amy, anything you want to add before we go? How's your ruck thing going?
Oh, it sounds like we have about 80 participants. I got the backpacks from Tactical Tailor. I showed you we have our patches in. So that's pretty exciting. And
it sounds like it. I just can't see, you hold them back there so much. That excitement.
Yes. No, I'm super excited because I'm hoping, at least locally, to fix some of the things that we're talking about, like to have everybody, the young veteran service organizations with the older veteran service organizations, learning about each other, and all the soldiers and the people locally that are participating, seeing what love we have for them. in resources and different things like that. So I'm really excited.
Great.
Nice.
All right, Brad, anything you want to add before we go? All right. I want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank everybody for who was here watching. And if you're watching this after the fact, make sure you comment, follow everything we want you to do. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next week.